The fifth era and done too much evil. Welcome friends. Tales of Herding Gods episode 73 explanation. Without any delay, start our explanation. Monk Bankai's scalp turned numb. They saw the terrain trembling violently while they were running and countless rocks flying in all directions. Among the rocks, pitch-black tentacles tunneled out, which were the roots of the lonely mountain ridge root demon. Heavenly Devil Cult had used demon suppression black stone tablets to suppress her roots, while the many black stone tablets around the lake and the ancient tree were to suppress her head. Now that the black stone tablets that were suppressing the head were pushed down by Monk Bankai and the rest, the root demon could once again use her strength, which could be said to be terrifying, causing the mountain ranges to tremble non-stop. She used her strength, and the black stone tablets there were suppressing her roots flew up one after another, shattering under her terrifying power. How does an ordinary root demon have such strength? Monk Bankai cried out. Was this tree demon purposefully placed here by Heavenly Devil Cult to harm people? Suddenly, thick roots swept towards them, and at the front of each one hung a beautiful woman. Trying to leave. You guys saved me, and I haven't repaid you guys yet. Why don't all of you stay and become one with me? Qiu waved her sleeves, and countless insects flew out towards the roots. These insects grew larger in the wind and became 3 yards long by the time they pounced to gnaw on the roots. However, the razor-sharp teeth of these insects shattered into pieces, unable to bite through. Qiu jumped in shock when she saw small roots, which then pierced the venomous insects, growing out from the navels of those women hanging on the roots. In an instant, only the shells of the venomous insects were left, while the flesh inside had vanished. The venomous insects I raise can even bite through spirit weapons, yet these roots are tougher than that. Qiu cried out. A root came from behind them, and Yuan Shan leaped up while holding a sword pellet over his head. He gave a stab and pierced through one woman before spinning his sword to sever her head. The woman's head fell onto the ground and immediately withered, turning into a black charcoal that was shaped like a head. Meanwhile, the headless woman on the root grew out another head. Yuan Shan was astonished and wanted to slice the root apart when another one stabbed him like lightning. He hurriedly executed his sword pellet, wanting to sever the root that was at his back, but his body suddenly shriveled. His flesh vanished in an instant, so only his skin was left. The other people had originally wanted to save him, but when they saw what had happened, they immediately rushed out of the canyon. Behind them, there were countless black-colored tentacles waving about and stabbing into the two mountains on their sides, pulling the true body out from the ground. That true body was a behemoth that was like a ball of thread with countless roots hanging down. The movement of this behemoth was too great, which activated the mysterious pearl crossbows that were on both sides of the mountain. The mysterious pearl crossbows detected the life force of this demon and shot at it automatically. 2 incomparably thick arrow lights flew through the sky and hit the lonely mountain ridge root demon, which was like a big black ball. The demon cried out miserably as if there were countless voices overlapping each other, causing an avalanche around the mountains. Long Jiaonan and the rest were almost caught by the tentacles when luckily the mysterious pearl crossbows inflicted pain to the demon, which made it retract its tentacles, allowing them to escape. These mysterious pearl crossbows can even kill celestial beings, so they can definitely kill this demon. Everyone let out a sigh of relief, then suddenly saw the lonely mountain ridge root demon waving her tentacles to sweep at the mysterious pearl crossbows up the mountains. With a loud bang, one of them was shattered into pieces, and a huge bronze arm rolled off from the top of a mountain. Next, the mysterious pearl crossbow on the other mountain was also shattered. The faces of Long Jiaonan and the rest turned ashen. They immediately jumped onto the back of the red snake Long Jiaonan had raised and slithered forward frantically. When they finally escaped Lonely Mountain Ridge, they took a look back. Countless roots that were like black pythons were climbing towards them, and a dull rolling sound could be heard coming from the canyon. It was obvious that the terrifying root demon was too heavy and was unable to fly. It could only rely on her roots to climb the cliff, pushing herself forward. This demon was too huge, so when she was moving, her body crashed repeatedly into the two mountains beside her, shaking them. Heavenly Devil cult is truly sinful, to raise such a huge demon to harm people. It was hard to say if Monk Bankai was trembling from fury or fear when he said angrily, "How many people have they killed to be able to raise a demon to this level? I hate how my abilities are too weak to subdue it." Everyone knew it was because he felt guilty for releasing this demon that he pushed all the blame to Heavenly Devil cult. They didn't call him out on it though and said to one after another, "It's lucky that this demon has been lured by us to Great Ruins and didn't go to kill the people of Eternal Peace. The people in Great Ruins are all abandoned people and villains that have nowhere else to go." This demon creating havoc in Great Ruins could also be considered subduing devils and protecting the Tao. Monk Bankai's expression softened, and he said, "Heavenly Devil cult master must have purposefully made a din to lure us into the valley so he could borrow the power of this demon to harm us. But heaven helps the worthy, so we have managed to escape with our lives, and he must be disappointed, right?" Just as he said that, the body of the lonely mountain ridge root demon squeezed out of the canyon and rolled down the slope, her tentacles flailing non-stop. Everyone immediately rose into the air and Scholar Lan Yu said solemnly, "This demon can't fly so everyone can be at ease." At this moment, a bird cry sounded out, and sharp wind bombarded the youth's face. A huge golden-winged bird flew towards him like lightning, and its two claws grasped onto his shoulders, lifting him away. Scholar Lan Yu felt pain on his shoulders. His left and right shoulder blades were pierced by the bird's claws. At that moment, he was about to execute a divine art to save himself, but the huge golden-winged bird lowered its head to peck at him. His skull was shattered into pieces as the bird carried his headless body into the depths of a forest. The group had arrived at Great Ruins, which was a savage land without law. The strange beasts here didn't care if one was a disciple from a reputable sect or not. In the eyes of these creatures, there was only food and not food. Qiu Yu said in a panic, "Don't fly in the sky, go toward the ground." Everyone immediately landed on the ground and behind them, the lonely mountain ridge root demon came chasing over. As they ran for their lives, they passed by a lake, and a huge fish suddenly jumped. It bit onto a young expert, killing them instantly before dragging them into the water. The lonely mountain ridge root demon came rolling over, and countless roots pierced the lake. The weird fish inside immediately jumped out of the water and followed behind Qiu Yu and the rest. That fish actually ran like it was flying and soon surpassed everyone, stunning them. After sprinting for over 10 miles to avoid the slaughter of the lonely mountain ridge root demon behind them, the group saw rows of trees that were uprooted. Devil King, Great Ruins are very dangerous, so if you have nothing to do, don't fly in the sky. Far away, Qin Mu was sitting on the dragon Chilene's back and seemed very relaxed. "We have our own unique rules in Great Ruins. You can fly in the sky if you want, but you must fly low and not be too flamboyant. If you think you are capable enough, you can fly slightly higher, but if the territorial strange beasts are not happy, they will come over and eat you." Juqian Devil King sneered. "Isn't this just the strong preying on the weak? I understand this rule. My Juqian functions under the same rule. And also, don't go out when it's dark." Qin Mu had a grim expression. "Unless you have the ability of a god or a devil, don't ever go into the darkness. It will be just a road to death." Juqian Devil King chuckled. "What's so scary about the dark? My Juqian is already broken to the point where everything is complete darkness. There's light only in some place, and it's where life can still thrive. In the darkness, I'm like a fish in the water. I'll show you how to frolic around at night." Hu Linga rolled her eyes. In the eyes of the little fox, Juqian Devil King was already dead. Qin Mu continued, "There's no law in our Great Ruins, so no matter who we meet, we must be polite. If we aren't polite and offended someone, it'll be easy for us to be gotten rid of. The more lawless a place is, the more polite people there are. Also, there are some terrifying gods and devils in Great Ruins. Some of them are sealed, some of them are suppressed, and some of them live luxuriously, so don't run around for nothing. Qin Devil King jumped in shock. There are still gods and devils in this world. Quite a number of them. I've met a few before, Qin Mu said. As long as you grasp the rules of Great Ruins, it's actually a much safer place than Eternal Peace Empire. You can ask Linga if you don't believe me. Qin Devil King took a look at Hu Linga, and she nodded repeatedly with deep sentiments. Eternal Peace is indeed much more dangerous than Great Ruins. The reason young master came out was to go to Eternal Peace Empire for experience. There's no experience for us in Great Ruins, so you can see how dangerous Eternal Peace Empire is. Suddenly, an earth-shattering boom came from behind them, and Qin Mu turned his head back to have a look. There, he saw countless tentacles flailing in the sky. A black behemoth with a mountain-like body was currently rushing over to him. On those tentacles hung naked women who were smiling weirdly. Why is the demoness of Lonely Mountain Ridge released? Who was so dumb? Qin Mu turned a cold shudder to the women hanging from the Lonely Mountain Ridge root demon, who had already seen him and were rushing over excitedly. Countless strange beasts were also running over in their direction. This demon is really courting death. It's really easy to die by rushing headlong in Great Ruins. Qin Mu shook his head. Even village chief wouldn't dare to be so reckless. Just as he was saying that, the ground suddenly trembled violently, and a huge palm which was covered in golden fur stretched out from underground. Flames blazed around the palm which slammed down forcefully against Lonely Mountain Ridge root demon. The root demon flew away like a black ball which got smacked, disappearing into the distance. The strange beasts that were escaping for their lives stopped and turned back to have a look. All of them then returned back to their own territories. Qin Devil King was stunned by the sight, unable to say a word. Qin Mu consoled him, "It's fine, it's fine. Great Ruins are like this. There are often weird things hidden around, but everything will be fine if you enter a temple to offer incense and pay respect to the gods." I reckon that Demonis had accidentally come into contact with some ruins and provoked the god there. Qin Devil King's body was stiff, and he only let out a shaky breath after some time. "It's too dangerous over here, I want to return to Juqian." The Devil King suddenly became agitated and broken pieces of components spewed out from his four mouths on his four faces. "How is your goddamn world a secular world? There are demons and ghosts everywhere. I won't invade your world anymore, okay? Let me go, I want to go home." Hulinga persuaded him, "Our Great Ruins are really safe, much safer than Eternal Peace Empire. You will definitely be fine if you follow young master." Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor and his wife had come to Little Jade Capital in the sky a dozen or so days ago. This city in the sky was like a paradise, with sceneries that were rarely seen in the mortal world. "Has Imperial Preceptor gotten accustomed to here?" a white-robed elder asked with a smile after coming over. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor said solemnly, "Lit Jade Capital lives up to its name. The sceneries here are extraordinary, which made me enjoy myself so much that I forgot to go home. Even though this place is good, it's far from the human world. My ambition isn't here, and I will still have to leave. May Hermit Qin Mu please forgive me." That old Hermit Qin Mu smiled. "There's no need for Imperial Preceptor to be in a hurry. This hermit has invited Imperial Preceptor as a guest, yet I haven't told you about the origins of Little Jade Capital." Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor said with curiosity, "I'd like to hear the details." Hermit Qin Mu led the way as he brought Imperial Preceptor and his wife up a rainbow bridge. This structure was sculpted out from 7-colored jade which stretched across the sky, so standing on the bridge was like standing on a rainbow. When at the center of the bridge, the scenery they could see from up there was different from what they could see from below. They could see that the mountains of Little Jade Capital were arranged into a natural formation in the sky, while the palaces on the mountains were where the immortals lived. Little Jade Capital City's origins are even more ancient than Imperial Preceptor must have imagined. Hermit Qin Mu smiled. The history here can be traced all the way back to the founding emperor period. Founding emperor. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor had indeed not heard of founding emperor before and asked curiously, which country had the founding emperor period? Eternal Peace Empire never had an emperor that was called founding emperor. Founding emperor isn't from Eternal Peace, he was from a land which was called Founding Emperor Empire, Hermit Qin Mu said. Imperial Preceptor should know that the Founding Emperor Empire is the current Great Ruins. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor's body trembled slightly as he let out a shaky breath. Great Ruins. Hermit Qin Mu led them across the bridge and towards a mountain of immortals floating in the sky. Founding Emperor Era is what the Taoism calls it, while Buddhism refers to it as emptiness era. Formation, existence, destruction, and emptiness, so emptiness era is the fourth one. Now that eternal peace is rising, we Little Jade Capital refer to the current time as Eternal Peace Era. During Founding Emperor Era, great ruins were prosperous. We Little Jade Capital refer to the huge calamity that wiped out that place as Founding Emperor Calamity. Before Founding Emperor Calamity, there was also 3 calamities. The gaze of Imperial Preceptor's wife flickered. Elder said that the current time is referred to as Eternal Peace Era, so if Eternal Peace Empire is wiped out, are you going to refer to it as Eternal Peace Calamity? Madam is wise. Hermit Qin Mu smiled and pointed far away. There was a jade mountain floating in the sky, and a few Taoists were currently building a palace there. That palace over there is to store the history of Eternal Peace Era. When Eternal Peace Empire is wiped out, we can tidy up the coming and goings of Eternal Peace Calamity, leaving them as references for our future generations. Imperial Preceptor's wife couldn't resist asking, Elder, what kind of place is Little Jade Capital? Is it good or evil? What intentions do you have for us husband and wife? We have been here for quite a few days, and the Elder had let us tour around as much as we wished. Shouldn't it be time for you to say the true intention of Little Jade Capital? We Little Jade Capital have no intentions. We just want to observe Imperial Preceptor, to observe the reform, and record the things that we think will be useful for our future generations. Hermit Qin Mu smiled. We call ourselves immortals and not gods because we don't want to interfere with how the world works. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor said, Immortals and gods, how are they different? Immortals are human, gods aren't. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor pondered it for a moment, then said, What you mean is that humans can't become gods, only immortals. Hermit Qin Mu smiled. Imperial Preceptor, having cultivated to Divine Bridge realm, what do you see when you stand on the Divine Bridge? Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor didn't say a word. Divine Bridge realm was the 7th realm after breaking the wall of Divine Bridge Divine Treasure, which was also the highest realm. Divine Bridge Divine Treasure is a bridge which leads to the God realm. However, it is broken within everyone, so no one is able to reach the other shore. It isn't different for Imperial Preceptor, am I right? Hermit Qin Mu continued, it's no different for the immortals of Little Jade Capital. We had seen countless divine treasures, and all the divine bridges were broken. Being unable to reach the other shore means that we can't become gods. Actually, based on our cultivation, we could be on par with the gods, yet the realm is broken. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor nodded. I had discovered this many years ago and was distressed over this once. I had searched many ancient books, yet I couldn't find a way to solve it. Does Little Jade Capital have records of the broken bridge being reconnected? We have. Hermit Qin Mu led them to the palace up the Jade Mountain and said, however, even Little Jade Capital isn't capable of doing it. Because we couldn't become gods, we decided to become immortals. This is why we, the old and useless, have chosen to stay in Little Jade Capital. Even though we call ourselves immortals, once our allocated lifespans are up, our souls will return to the Yellow Springs. We aren't able to escape death. We are just seeking peace. Imperial Preceptor, Madam, over here. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor and his wife followed him and walked into the palace. It was a place, but even though it had the faint air of the home of immortals, it was very cold and cheerless, with not a figure to be seen. Little Jade Capital was a cold and cheerless place like this. Hermit Qin Mu brought them through the long hallway and walked to the circular door, leading them into the depths of the palace. During Founding Emperor period, there was indeed a bunch of people who had connected their broken bridges. They had built a glorious divine dynasty which by now has turned into dust and no longer exists. The location of this divine dynasty is the great ruins of today. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was slightly excited. There have been people who connected the bridge. In that case, did they become gods? Hermit Qin Mu nodded and smiled slightly. However, there are very few of these people now, and they are known as the people abandoned by gods. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was stunned. Those abandoned people in great ruins? No. Almost no one has a complete divine bridge divine treasure among the abandoned people of great ruins. The immortals of our little Jade Capital had gone to check before. Hermit Qin Mu pushed open a door and brought them inside. Eternal Peace Empire had received a prophecy before, am I right? They were told to restrict the abandoned people of great ruins from walking out of great ruins. Actually, what the oracle wanted you to guard against was not those abandoned people of great ruins, but the abandoned people from Carefree Village that are staying in great ruins. Their divine bridges are complete, and what the gods are guarding against are them. Rows of bookshelves were in front of them, and they were with thick ancient books that contained the history of Founding Emperor era which the immortals of Little Jade Capital had recorded down. Imperial Preceptor just needs to read all these ancient books once, and you will know what had happened during Founding Emperor era and Founding Emperor calamity. Hermit Qin Mu bowed, paying his respects since he planned to retreat from this library. If Imperial Preceptor wants to continue walking down this path he has set, I'm afraid Founding Emperor era's history will become Eternal Peace Empire's history as well. Whatever Founding Emperor era faced, Eternal Peace era will face as well. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor returned the bow and asked, Wonderajan from your little Jade Capital died under my hands, so why is Dao brother still letting me come here? Our little Jade Capital does not interfere with worldly affairs and only records them. Once Wonderajan left the mountain, he was no longer an immortal of Little Jade Capital. His life and death were no longer related to us. Hermit Qin Mu said while walking out, both of you husband and wife are immortals of our Little Jade Capital while you are here, but when you leave, you will no longer be related to us. A saint appears every 500 years, and we Little Jade Capital are interested in observing the saint of this current dynasty, to see if he can do what the saints of the past could not. Weird rules. The eyes of Imperial Preceptor's wife shifted and landed on the ancient scrolls. Husband, there are some problems with Little Jade Capital's origin. I think they're the descendants of Founding Emperor Empire. That is possible. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor sat down and picked up a book. They have no ill intentions, so there's no need to guess their goals. I want to see the history of Founding Emperor since the current times is a reflection of the past. In the great ruins, a certain devil was speaking. I just wanted to find a lowly world for my people to settle in, to find a place for them to live and reproduce. I don't want to wage a war on your world. Juqian Devil King had a blank gaze as he muttered, our Juqian is at its death door, so if we fight with you guys, we are really going to go extinct. I have to take responsibility for my race. Let me return, I have to find another lowly world, let me return. Hulinga looked at Qin Mu and asked in a low voice, young master, should we let him return? He looks pretty pitiful. How do I know if he really plans to return or if it's a lie? Qin Mu shook his head. He is just a consciousness, while his true body is still in Juqian. He can continue to search for another world with that, so there's no need for this consciousness to return to Juqian. If he doesn't return and instead hides somewhere to summon his true body, won't I be guilty? You can't believe a word this fellow says. If you believe him, you'll lose instantly. Border Dragon City is right in front of us, and it's only 1,000 miles away from disabled elderly village. Border Dragon City was already in their sight, so Qin Mu was finally at ease. He had finally reached his own territory. Young Master. Young Master has returned. Young Master, how is Eternal Peace Empire compared to our great ruins? Qin Mu brought the Dragon Qilin into Border Dragon City, and many store owners on the way waved towards him. He smiled and returned their greetings. Eternal Peace Empire is much more chaotic than our great ruins. Rebellions happen every day, and wars are waged constantly. It's not a good place. That's right, there were many immigrants who had escaped to great ruins. They all said they were running from war and disasters. It's good Young Master is back. Home is the safest after all. Qin Mu came to the City Lord's manor and asked, has the City Lord returned? City Lord had come back a few days ago before leaving once more. Does Young Master want to stay? Little one will go and prepare a banquet to hold a welcoming reception. There's no need, Qin Mu said. New Year is coming, I have to return to the village first. Border Dragon City was his and Granny-size property since some time ago due to most of the people here being people of Heavenly Devil cult. The only difference from outside was that the followers of Heavenly Devil cult outside referred to Qin Mu as Cult Master Sacred Teacher while followers in Border Dragon City referred to him as Young Master. The owner of this city was Granny Sai, after all, and Qin Mu was the child she had raised, so it was natural he was called Young Master. Qin Mu continued on the journey home. The distance of 1,000 miles was very short, and with the foot power of the Dragon Qilin, they could reach disabled elderly village in half a day. The Dragon Qilin stepped on the river surface and moved upstream. The sunlight of the winter sun provided warmth as it shone down, and it was not chilly like in Eternal Peace Empire. Qin Mu remembered how he had broken the ice tide with Xianqinga last year. Right then, he saw Xianqinga smoking fish with the villagers. By rubbing salt on the huge fish hanging under the tree by the river and using moist firewood to smoke them, the smoky flavor would seep into the meat. The people of this village had caught many huge fish that were taller than a human, and they hung on the tree. The flesh of these fish was bright and shiny. The villagers rarely went out to hunt during New Year's, so they could only rely on these catches to survive through this winter. Qin Mu stopped the Dragon Qilin, and the little girl with 3 braids blinked her bright and beautiful eyes at him. The one that herds cows, you're returning home in glory. Is outside fun? Qin Mu smiled. It's okay, I'm getting chased by people everywhere I go. Didn't the monks of Little Thunderclap Monastery come to find you? Pooey pooey, go and touch wood. The monks of Little Thunderclap Monastery have not found their way here yet. Xianqinga was curious, though. What bad things have you done? Why are people chasing after you so much? I guess it's because I'm too outstanding. Qin Mu raised his head and pondered it. He felt that what he said was definitely correct. I'm too outstanding so people are jealous of me and chase everywhere I go. He waved his hands to bid goodbye, and Xianqinga immediately said, I'll go play with you when I'm free, don't let your elders kill me. Okay. When the sun started to set in the west, Qin Mu finally reached disabled elderly village. Just as he had entered it, he saw over a dozen hen dragons that were taller than a human surrounding him with unpleasant looks. At their head was that old hen which became agitated when she saw Qin Mu and pointed her wings at him while clucking non-stop to the other hen dragons. It was as if she was telling them that this brat was an egg thief. I merely went outside for half a year and now there are so many hen dragons in the village. Qin Mu seemed to have met his greatest foes and shouted out, times have changed, I'm now the cult master sacred teacher of Heavenly Saint cult, even if you hens outnumber me, I'm not afraid at all. Cluck! 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 The flock of hen dragons swarmed forward and drowned him out. The feathers of these hen dragons were like swords, and they spewed fire like dragons. With sharp claws which could split stone and metal, they were incomparably fierce. Hulinga saw this situation and immediately said, "Young master, I shall go home first to have a look." When she had said it, she disappeared like a wisp of smoke. After a moment, Qin Mu forced back the flock of hens while panting heavily. His face was covered in blood, and his hair was all messed up with chicken feathers stuck in it. In front of him, the head of the hen dragons brought the flock to walk away with their heads held high as they patrolled the village. Juqian Devil King laughed as he rejoiced in Qin Mu's misfortune. "Rascal, you can't even beat a flock of hens." Qin Mu pulled out the chicken feathers from his hair. "And you're someone who lost to a fellow who can't even defeat a flock of hens." "Granny, village chief, I'm back. Why didn't any of you come to save me when you saw me getting bullied by a flock of hens? Eh, why is no one here?" Qin Mu walked around the village, surprised. Village chief and apothecary's rooms were empty, and the other people of the village had not returned either. Qin Mu could only find a few slips of paper which he opened up. The first slip wrote that village chief, apothecary, and devil cult patriarch were going to search for Carefree Village. If anyone came back, they should first help apothecary feed his insects. The second slip was in Butcher's handwriting which said that village chief and the rest had yet to return, so he was worried about their safety, so blind, and he was going to search for them. The third slip was left behind by Mute, and it said that Blind and Butcher had not returned as well, so he was going to find them. The fourth slip was left behind by Cripple and Old Ma, saying that village chief and the rest might have met with danger. They could move fast, so they had gone out to find them. The fifth slip was left behind by Granny Sai, which said that the old geezers were always causing trouble. She had left to find them and told Qin Mu to not wander off. Granny and the rest are really worrisome. Qin Mu shook his head and placed his luggage down. He went to pluck a few leaves from the herb garden outside the village, then opened the pots in front of apothecary's door and placed the leaves inside them. In the pots, the starving insects immediately snatched the food. Qin Mu then walked into apothecary's room and found a few spirit pills which he shattered and scattered into other pots. He then washed his hands to cook dinner. These broken pots. Juqian Devil King saw the broken pots which kept the little insects and was greatly shocked. His gaze then landed on the water cauldron in front of the smithy and was shocked again. This huge water cauldron, that rake, that pot, and all the other treasures strewn everywhere. "Lord Devil King, stop wandering around, you have more arms, so come and help me cook a few dishes." Qin Mu summoned him over. When the last of the sun rays disappeared, darkness came pouring over from the west and surged towards the east like a huge flood, swallowing all the mountain ranges on its way and drowning out great ruins. Qin Mu was long used to this sight and didn't pay any attention to it as he served the dishes with an apron around his waist. However, Juqian Devil King was seeing such a terrifying sight for the first time, so he was dumbfounded and couldn't say a word. Just before the darkness was about to drown disabled elderly village, a lean elder walked in with a book basket on his back. The darkness swept over right at that moment and whooshed towards the east around disabled elderly village. "Grandpa Deaf." Qin Mu was surprised and delighted. He immediately put down his bowl and chopsticks to welcome him. Deaf's clothing was old and tattered, which made it evident that he had not lived well outside. He placed down his book basket and asked, "Is there food? I've been starving for a few days." "Food is just ready." Qin Mu immediately washed another set of bowl and chopsticks. Deaf sat down and gorged himself, taking a breath after eating 4 to 5 bowls of food continuously. Qin Mu poured another bowl of soup for him and asked in bewilderment, "Grandpa Deaf, where have you been these days?" The corners of Deaf's eyes twitched, and he grumbled, "Eternal peace. I went to find Mute, but I couldn't do it, and I used up all my travel expenses, so I could only sell my paintings." The elder's voice was pained when he spoke. The people of today have sadly degenerated. Degenerated? I actually didn't manage to sell even one painting. When I was extremely starving, I met old woman Sai who spared me some cash, even if she mocked me for a long time. That's right, don't speak about this to apothecary, that guy always laughs at me for not earning as fast as he can by selling medicine. Qin Devil King stared wide-eyed. This old geezer was a top-notch expert, so could he be the painting expert who had painted that sword god? This kind of great expert had actually come close to starving to death. Couldn't he have gotten money by force if he didn't have any? Qin Mu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Grandpa Deaf, now that the world is not peaceful, who would buy paintings for pleasure? If you lack money next time, you can sell them to Imperial Preceptor's manor, since Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor will definitely be willing to spend a huge sum to buy them. Deaf shook his head. I eliminated several thousands of Eternal Peace Empire's soldiers, so if I went to his house to sell my paintings, he would definitely take me down. I can't win against him. Qin Mu beamed. You can find me in Imperial College, all I have is money. I can buy all of the paintings you have painted. Are there any left in Grandpa Def's book basket? You can sell them to me, I'll pay you now. I've burned them all, Def said nonchalantly. Where are the others? Have they not returned? Burned. Qin Mu felt pained. If Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was here, he would definitely puke 3 liters of blood up. He took out the slips of paper apothecary and the rest had left behind, and Def read through them before saying, their handwritings are really ugly. I'll have a good night's sleep tonight and go find them tomorrow. Who is he? Only now did he notice Qin Devil King, and the other said proudly, I'm the master of Qin, the ruler of Qin. There's no need for you to pay respect to me. He's really ugly. Def got up and returned to his room to sleep. I'm the Lord Devil King of Qin. Qin Devil King retorted angrily. Qin Mu said with good intentions, Devil King, Grandpa Def can't hear. Bullshit, he was able to hear you just now. Qin Mu explained, sometimes he can hear, sometimes he can't. Qin Devil King was speechless from anger. Qin Mu cleaned up the bowls and chopsticks before getting ready for bed. Devil King, don't wander about at night. The darkness is very dangerous. Qin Devil King said yes repeatedly and thought to himself, since the rascal doesn't dare to enter the darkness, now is the best time for me to leave. I just need to enter the darkness and I'll be able to shake him off. Then I'll be able to host the sacrificial ceremony to summon my true body. Not long later, Qin Mu fell asleep, and the snoring could be heard from his room. Qin Devil King tiptoed toward the outside. The stone statues in the 4 corners of the village were giving off a faint glow, so the surroundings weren't too dim. However, the places which the light from the stone statue couldn't shine on were pitch black and nothing could be seen in them. Qin Devil King carefully came to the village entrance and hesitated for a moment. He stretched out a finger into the darkness and heard nibbling sounds. Pulling his palm back, he couldn't help being stunned. His finger had already vanished, having been eaten by something in the darkness. Qin Devil King sized up his wound, and his heart trembled slightly. He probed, Gang Nuo Dida Hey, who is in the darkness? Silent came from the darkness. After a while, a sinister-sounding voice answered, a Pugaoni hen, who are you yourself? Qin Devil King's spirit jolted, and he was about to say something when a voice spoke behind him. What are you doing? Why are you speaking the devil language? Qin Devil King saw Def who had appeared behind him at some point in time, and his heart tightened. The ears of this Def are so sensitive. Wait, isn't he a deaf person? Def yawned and raised his brush to write a fix word on his body before going back to sleep. Qin Devil King couldn't move at all. He wanted to say something, but he couldn't make a sound either. The next morning, Qin Mu woke up early to prepare breakfast. The dragon Chilean brought a face basin and placed it in front of Qin Mu before sitting down to wait for his food. Def ate to his fill. Mua, I shall go out to search for village chief and the rest to come back for New Year's, while you and your big dog shall stay here to look after the village. Qin Mu gave a sound of acknowledgement. The dragon Qin ate the scarlet fire spirit pills while speaking in a low and muffled voice. I'm not a big dog, I'm an auspicious beast that's half dragon and half Qin. Death didn't hear him and walked out of the village. He raised his brush and painted a dragon in the sky, then rode into the sky. Qin Devil King was still standing by the entrance, unable to move. Qin Mu put away the bowls and chopsticks while thinking to himself, I wonder how Devil Ape that big fella is doing these days. I should bring some presents to him. He saw Qin Devil King and gave a smile before saying softly, Gang Nuo Dida Hey. Qin Devil King's heart was slightly shaken. This brat also knew. Qin Mu made the dragon Qin guard the village while he headed towards Doom Suppression Palace. Before he could walk far, he heard one of the many names of Buddha. Amitabha. Heavenly Devil Cult Master, fancy meeting you here by sheer luck when one has searched far and wide for you. Never would I have thought this little monk will meet Cult Master here. A monk in ragged clothes appeared in front of him. They were both astonished to have met each other. Qin Mu immediately recognized this monk as the one that had attacked his treasure ship in Eternal Peace Empire. He had used Junior Protector Sword to injure his leg, but he could still sprint like flying. How do I address you, monk? Qin Mu smiled and looked around. When he didn't discover Long Jiaonan and the rest, he let out a sigh of relief. This monk had clearly been chased by Lonely Mountain Ridge Root Demon and met with all kinds of unfortunate events in Great Ruins, one of which was getting separated from Long Jiaonan and the rest. With him having escaped in a panic, they had met up here by coincidence. Little monk's name in religion is Bankai. Monk Bankai raised his head at the sky, and 2 trails of tears rolled down his cheeks as he sighed ruefully. My Buddha of compassion, the virtuous achievements of little monk can finally come to their successful conclusion. Heavenly Devil Cult Master, you have done too much evil, so let this little monk send you on your way. Qin Mu said solemnly, Monk, you said I have done too much evil. Please name one evil I have done to let me accept my death wholeheartedly. Monk Bankai had an awe-inspiring murderous intent as he rushed over with his Buddha rays shining brilliantly. You are the Heavenly Devil Cult Master, and that's the greatest evil you've done. If there's a life to come for you, reincarnate to become a good person. Like and comments friends. So this video will end here.